Are you a professional optimised business? Time to look at Northern Peugeot Bandura to further professionalise your fleet with their updated commercial van range. The team at Northern Peugeot Bandura can help customise your fleet to your business needs. Stock arriving now, so secure your van and beat the rush before the end of financial year madness. Visit northernpeugeot.com.au or call 9119 9008. T&C Supply.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the State of Our Football Nation here on FNR. And I'm Pokuah Frimpong in the studio, but as always, we are joined by the wonderful George Zanikian. George, how are you?
I'm all right, Pokuah. I've managed to survive the trials and tribulations that, I suppose showcased themselves throughout this week. Over this past week, I was watching the EPL and then I was watching the Champions League, and I've said to myself, there is no easy game anymore, as it should be. They're hugely professional leagues. They're big clubs. They've got super players. But my God, have we seen some massive upsets over the last week. And along the lines of all those Panathinaikos fans, there's a group of Arsenal fans in Australia at the moment sitting on the edge of their seats, not quite sure what's going to happen in the last 2 or 3 games. But I'm with you, Pokuah. Good luck.
I appreciate it, George. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it did, it would be an incredible story and it would be fantastic. So a lot of teams have got to do us a favour, but I don't think it's going to happen. But
how long would it take you to come down if your Gunners or Gunners get up and actually do the remarkable and claim the title of the champions of the English Premier League?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would be okay for a couple of seasons because I went through a lot. I went through a lot in high school. Being an Arsenal fan, it was not an easy time. But we are in a great spot at the moment. Even if we don't win it all, this season has been great for us.
Our first guest, he's going to join us via Zoom in a moment. He's been following. He's a lifelong Panathinaikos fan in Greece, and his side was leading all comers for nearly the entire season, and then something happened. Let's welcome the commercial man at Football Victoria, Paul Iliopoulos. Paul, what happened to your Panathinaikos, mate?
George, I was hoping you start on a positive rather than a negative, but look, I'm happy to take it on board. I did, probably showing my age now, I did take a lot of success with Panathinaikos while I lived a little bit in Greece, so I'm happy to say that. But at the moment, I don't talk Greek football because it's very frustrating.
And too painful, is that right?
That's correct, yes. I've had to, we've got a family that's a bit divided in terms of the three teams that they support. And me being Panathinaikos at the moment, I'm getting a lot of stick and have been for a while. And anyway, it is what it is, and I still support it. But, I tried to sort of steer away from that conversation. But thanks anyway for bringing it up.
Any advice for Pokuah in the event that should things go wrong?
No, I guess, you need to be proud. You need to say that, they've had an amazing season. And the ones that are really fanatical, you're going to cop it and it is what it is. But, think about next year, Pokuah. So think about next year.
Paul, I've already got the summer signings ready. I've already got my posts about how wonderful season it's been for Arsenal and there's no failure for us. I've already got all the posts ready.
Paul, let's get on to the business side of things. You're the corporate and I suppose commercial operations guy at Football Terrific. They're doing some interesting stuff. Tomorrow morning, there's a breakfast, and it's not where you normally have it. It's at Ultra Football in Abbotsford.
That's correct. Yeah. So,
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, for starters, Ultra Football is one of our partners. So we do a lot of work with them. They support a lot of our programs internally, externally. So I guess thinking outside the square in general about business these days is what works. It is a breakfast. You're 100% right. So it's a 2-hour event that we're going to do in the morning, and happy to have you be part of that. And we sort of want to network and then have all our existing and new partners be involved in this journey. Again, it's a platform that's been around for Football Victoria for about 7 years. We've predominantly just, we've had guests, we've done a lot of awards, we've done many things on this platform. We've inherited and networked with partners that support our programs. But yeah, tomorrow's going to be a little bit different. We just sort of want to go out there and listen to a couple of things, and then also allow our business platform to network.
Now, does that mean I don't have to wear a suit and I can put on my boots and my club top and rock in, or do I still have to sort of watch out for my P's and Q's?
George, we're extremely humble. You never have to wear your suit at our function. So not at all. I mean, it's purely a casual, neat sort of networking breakfast. Nothing more, nothing less.
All right.
So, yeah.
The last time I was there, and I asked this question advisedly, the last time I went to a community and business breakfast for Football Victoria, they said to me it was going to be a quiet affair. It was sold out. And the other thing they told me is we had no special guests, and then Ange walked into the room, Ange Postecoglou. Well, mayhem broke out, and this was still before he had taken over the reins at Celtic. He had just become champion of Japan with Yokohama Marinos. And what am I hearing now? I'm hearing that Celtic are going to tour Asia, and they're going to play in Japan. And who are they playing first up? It'll be Postecoglou against Muscat.
Yes.
That's not a bad rap for Victorian football, is it? A couple of local boys?
100%. We love them. They love us. I mean, look, the reality is, just going back one step in terms of surprises at our events, we always have, the likes of Ange and Kevin's that want to attend our events, right? So, whether it's a last minute thing, they're saying, hey, you've got an event come. I mean, we always do invite them regardless, but if they happen to be in the country and definitely in the state, they're always there, which is great, right? I mean, tomorrow our CEO, Kim Montaliadoros, will be there. So, he's another one that's very well respected.
Yeah, another Socceroo. Yeah.
Correct, right. So, and there's always going to be, representation from A-League and then AFA and so on. So, yeah.
Let me aid you. I can remember a time when I was at the Wide World of Sports at Channel 9 doing coverage of the then NSL, and there was this young guy terrorising defences. His name was Kim Montaliadoros. And yes. I remember a game at the late, great Olympic Park. It was Sydney Olympic, South Melbourne, 5-3. And guess who got a hat-trick? Yes, Kim on. Yeah. And he was lethal. Just fantastic stuff. The energy was through the roof. And, had there been a roof at the old Olympic Park, we would have ripped it open. It was just fantastic. Let's get back to some of the things that are going on. It's a very busy year for football, the round ball code in Australia. Despite what other sports are saying and what they're doing, no one can challenge that the biggest sporting event in the world for women is going to be happening in Australia come June, July, or July, August. Can you imagine anything more exciting?
George, I don't know how to hide my enthusiasm, but in general, right, there's two massive events that have happened within 12 months, right? So we've had our Socceroos that have had an amazing result in the World Cup, but having a World Cup within 12 months here in Australia and women's, George, it's just, it's really exciting for us, for football, for women, for whichever angle and platform you want to look at it. It's extremely exciting. We've got an actual, massive project. We're building the home of the Matildas here in Victoria, which is about to finish. So that alone, it's a home for football. It's a project where it's designed by women for women. Then we've got, the Women World Cup within, a month. And then we're moving into that. There's just, the sport keeps growing, not only globally, but in Australia.
But there's also a lot of excitement, and Pokuah might just jump in here. I just heard that Preston, who are also very, very keen to be back in the big time, have grabbed a young girl called Emma Checker, and brought her to the club, where this is a young girl who was playing the A-League Liberty Women's. So they're not looking to hide. They're looking to, as they say, boost their platform, bring in more stars, and really give the younger players who haven't had a chance to play with quality or such quality a chance to see out the remainder of the season. What have you made of that news?
Is that for
Preston? For Preston, the Preston Women's.
I think it's going to keep happening, George. I think that's the first step, and then there's going to be a lot that are coming back. You start from overseas, your Sam Kerrs, which are leading headlines, and then that's just going to filter through. The game keeps going, and then I think there'll be people that just want to get more and more involved. We had Western United that debuted in the women's league, and they made the final, right? So there's a lot of investment. There's a lot of
Pokuah kept telling me all season, watch out for Western United.
They're
going to be a threat. They're not going away. And she was spot on. So is this showing up in your business? Are you seeing more commercial people wanting to be partners of Football Victoria and of course the game?
100%. They're easier conversations now. I think they're a lot easier, these conversations.
Yep.
I think the whole diversity and where we've got a massive project that we're going to the 50-50 equity. We want more women to get involved because that's what the future holds. And that's where, that's what we want to do. So all that investment from commercial, from businesses, from, every platform is evident and makes conversations easier. So full support on many levels. So
people want to get involved with Football Victoria. And of course, as you mentioned a little earlier, the home of the Matildas is nearing completion. And of course, the Disney Channel has been showing us the Matildas documentary series. So the buzz continues to build. How do they go about approaching you, Paul? What's the best way to reach out?
For starters, I'm very easy. I'm very easy to find. But my email address through Football Victoria is Paul.Iliopoulos. So it is a Greek name, probably not as easy as Danica, but I'll spell it Paul.Iliopoulos at footballvictoria.com.au. But I'm on the website. I'm at all the functions. Tomorrow is a good one. So you'll be there, George, and we'll get a lot of us supporting that. And then, from there on, George, as I said, I'm very approachable and very sort of linked with yourself and the media to get hold of me.
Fantastic. Before I go, I caught up with you by chance just last week when a young boy who has been the number one ticket holder at Victory for a long, long time, he's now back and he's kicking goals. He's doing it in the restaurant trade. I'm talking about young George Columbaris. What have you made of Hellenic House Project at Hyatt?
George, I loved it. Look, at the end of the day, I believe that George has a great, experience and product, right? So whether it's Hyatt or somewhere else, I think, like myself, we'll support George. We'll go because he's got an amazing offering, an amazing product, he's an amazing chef. So I think he will do well. I strongly believe that. And I was there. I live in Heidelberg, so I travelled all the way to Hyatt to give it a go, and I loved it, right? And And just for FYI, George Calamaris will be there tomorrow as well at the breakfast. So
is that right?
Correct. So he'll be one of our special guests on the day. So we'll try and pick his brain a little bit about, that as well.
Just don't ask him about the promo that we did for Bridgestone Tyres when he was number one ticket holder for the Victory. I was number one ticket holder for City, and we went up in the balloon, and it nearly took off his scalp. The jet burner was that close to it because we were on a 2-man balloon, not on a 20 or 30-man balloon. We had a lot of fun. He won the football. I won the fight.
I was going to say, what did you discuss that high up in a,
Ask him tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll get you to ask him and then we'll have a laugh.
No worries at all. For those of you that want to get involved, any chance of anyone rocking up late?
Yeah, no problem.
You want to give them the address?
Yeah, for sure. So it's 200 Gibbs Street, Ultra Football, Football Victoria breakfast networking event. It will be between 7:15 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. and hosted by Michael Zapponi, which you probably know as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lot of fun.
Zappers is just back from overseas, where he's had another fantastic story to tell, and I hope he gives us a bit of a background tomorrow morning in the breakfast.
He will. I pushed him to do that because I've been following him on social media, and he looked like a bit of fun.
Okay. Listen, thanks very much at short notice for catching up with us. Good luck with the breakfast tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you. And more importantly, let's hope the season, the NPL season here is a beauty. There have been some terrific matches already and some interesting results. Will your Heidelberg continue to play good football?
I think they all will. To be honest, just to finish up, because I know we have to finish up, I think from our perspective, George, NPLs is massive. The crowds have been really good. The results have been great. But in general, the registrations for us, and then just going a little bit back end, have just been enormous, probably record-breaking in Football Victoria. So everyone wants to play the sport, everyone at every level from, community to NPL to, every age group.
You know what that means, don't you? We have to find more grounds.
100%. That's a different discussion to have at another session,
time.
George. Yeah, we'll talk council another time.
Good on you. All the very best. Paul Iliopoulos joining us on FNR's State of Our Football Nation. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, another special guest, a guy who did a tremendous job for me a long, long time ago, and whenever he's asked to do a job, he does it to the best of his ability. I'm talking about the man who made a huge impact as a striker in his days at South Melbourne, John Anastasiadis, and he'll be joining us right after the break.
Are you a professional optimised business? Time to look at Northern Peugeot Bandura to further professionalise your fleet with their updated commercial van range. The team at Northern Peugeot Bandura can help customise your fleet to your business needs. Stock arriving now, so secure your van and beat the rush before the end of financial year madness. Visit northernpeugeot.com.au or call 9119 9008. T&C's apply.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.
Hello and welcome back to the State of Our Football Nation here on FNR with me, Pure Frimpong, and George Danikian. If you just missed our previous interview, we just had Paul Iliopoulos from Football Victoria on. But George, I'd let you introduce our next guest, a great guest to have here on the State of Our Football Nation.
Not only is he a great guest, he's a really good guy, and he's done a tremendous job wherever he's gone. I remember many years ago, he was my first coach when I stepped into the role of president at South Melbourne, and he promised us that he would deliver the goods, and we were there or thereabouts. We had the youngest team, and as he promised me, they were the fittest, and we played some great games, and we drew some tremendous crowds. And this is the year after we were, basically demoted from the old NSL. So it was a super exciting time. He's since gone on and done some tremendous things, being the giant killer, of course, in the old FFA Cup when he was coaching at Bentley Greens. Every time they played and got involved, they kept knocking over some of the bigger teams, Pokuah. And then, of course, he was headhunted by a mob called Western United, where he's just finished 4 years. But I get a feeling John Anastasiadis wants to get back and be the head man again. Johnny Anastasiadis, welcome to the program.
Thanks, George. It's great to be here. And I tell you what, I haven't done this for 4 years. So if I throw a few
curlies,
few Greek words in or something like that, excuse me.
No, listen,
I've got to get used to it again.
Pokuah has got this big ruler. And as I said to her, whatever you feel, Pokuah, you need to do, you go ahead and do it. But she's a huge fan, and she's also the one member of staff at FNR that said to me, watch out for the Western United's women team at the very beginning, before they started playing that fabulous football they played throughout the season, and were so unfortunate not to finish it off. What have you made of the last 4 years? Has it been a journey for you?
Yeah, it's been a journey, definitely, after leaving the NPL and with Bentley. This was a whole new ball game. The A-League definitely is another level, and we've had 4 years. I reckon I've done nearly everything in terms of having a good season, not having a not so good season, winning the championship, and then again just missing out on the finals this year especially. So then COVID was in between. So we've been through a lot in 4 years, but the club's come a long way since then. Since the first day we got together in 2019, and it's hopefully now. I like you said, for me, my journey stopped here at West United, because the plan was obviously to be the head coach at some stage, but sometimes the plan doesn't go to plan, and you have to make hard decisions, and I made a very hard decision to leave Western United, because they're fantastic people there. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and made some lifelong friends, which is good. And basically, they gave me that opportunity, and I'd like to thank them for that from the bottom of my heart. They gave me the opportunity to be in the A-League, and but ultimately, I'm at an age now where I've got to think about what do I want to do in elite football, and my view is that I wanted to be a head coach. I couldn't be head coach at Western United, because obviously, Johnny Alois is there, and he's done well. So, and he's a great bloke. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic fellow, Johnny, and had a great time there. Learned a lot, so it was pretty good. But for me, I think I'm ready now to definitely get into the role of head coach again in the A-League. So. The decision was made, and with my family and that, so we said, look, let's see what happens, and we'll just wait and see now, George, and hopefully something comes quickly.
I just want to ask you, Johnny, just to go back to your time at Western United. Something that I've really admired about Western United when I've been around, when I've gone to see the men's training or even the women's training, is such a great culture amongst the staff and even the players as well there. And I wonder, with a club that's just relatively new to the competition, how do you establish that and create such a good club culture in where you all are pushing in the same direction?
You establish by bringing in the right people. So the club, they had the values at the start, which was, obviously growth, effort, and things like that. So, and togetherness. So we took those three values and built the team around it with the players also and the staff. So, and that came in the first year, and obviously COVID even brought us closer because we were actually in a hub for 7 weeks in Sydney. So that even brought us even closer. So, and from that you just continue it on, and obviously after Mark Rudin left, then the club, ultimately went with John Aloisi, and John's values, I think, were in the same direction as the club's values, and obviously, John's brought in respect on top of that. So, and everyone's pulling in the same way, and anyone who didn't, you see they fall by the wayside. Simple as that. So, but we've had nearly the same squad for quite a few years now, and I know there's a big next year will be totally different ball games with a whole heap of new players, but definitely the players that will come in have to align with those values, otherwise they won't be taken in.
Johnny, one man who featured for much of that time and who brought enormous joy for real football fans was a guy called Alessandro Diamante, the Diamond. Was he as remarkable for you being inside the camp as he was for us? I couldn't believe his energy. And we're talking about a guy who really could have come to the A-League half a dozen years earlier for victory, but the powers that be at the time thought he didn't have enough credentials, enough on the CV, which was born now on reflection, it looks like a really stupid decision. Yeah. But the guy came, and like many of the great stars that have come from overseas, they've put their reputation on the line, and he did that too, didn't he?
Yes, he did, George. And it's funny to say that Alessandro's been here the longest he's ever been at a club. That's 4 years.
Wow.
So that shows the actual club itself, what it's about, So someone like that who's, the guy's played in World Cup, guys scored in World Cup for his national team and played some massive teams in Europe. So for Victory not to actually see that he doesn't suit the credentials doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's their loss and our gain, I suppose. And hopefully it was Australia football's game,
I was going to say, the thing that fascinates me listening and reading up about Alessandro, and you can validate this, he has no compunction to tell people about his early days and how he had not an idea about being a professional. He thought, because I'm the best of the bunch here, all I've got to do is roll up. And he says, and he admits that he lost 4 years until he ran into a coach, I think when he was 23, who said to him, now listen, young man, you're 23, but you can still have an unbelievable career if you're prepared to do this, this, and this. And if you come on board, I'll back you. And from that moment on, the man that you just spoke about became a special player, a very special player.
Yep, and I think through those learnings that he had early on, he actually translates that to the young boys of today. So if he sees a boy that's,
mucking around
or not on the straight and narrow, then he definitely puts him on the straight and narrow. And he was a big personality in our dressing room, big character. He's all about being positive and positive mindset and positive vibes, as he calls it. And he was always a happy fella. He was always happy.
Tremendous.
That's what we saw anyway. We always happy.
Yeah.
So nothing fazed him. Yeah, there were always issues within the club, and that happens within the family. But you get over them quickly. So, but look, he's. I remember when we actually. Sort of looked into him when the club first formed, and I remember Rudes actually said, "No, he's past it, So we're not." So I said, "Okay, good. No, that's right." I mean, we just we looked at a lot of players before the season started, but then we realised that we're not going to get what we wanted. So we sort of said, let's visit Diamante, and lo and behold, it was probably a very wise decision to get him. And look, he set the scene alight, especially in the first year. He was enormous. He suffered an injury last year, which
this is the knee injury, is it?
The knee injury, injury.
Yeah.
And this year, look, he played his part. He won us 2 games off last minute and a sensational goal against Sydney. Only someone like him could actually see that, seriously. And it was funny because if you go back to his games, George, you'll see he tries that once a game. So you really try that. Yeah. So if you're a goalkeeper, you want to be off your line, good luck. Good luck. That's the type of person he was. But it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure coaching him. Pleasure being around him, and I wish him all the best in his next chapter of football.
I remember Orlando Engelaar, the Dutchman, playing for City under Johnny A.
Yeah.
The other Johnny A, Johnny Aloisi. And in fact, I take that back. Aloisi brought him to Australia.
That's right.
And he got injured in a pre-season game, broke a leg, and wasn't available for about 15 weeks. And Johnny lost his job because he and Jonathan Hermano, who was the other recruit that Johnny brought in, both of them could not play. Yeah. And the week that they both turned on and came on the pitch, John von Schip had taken over at City, and Johnny had gone. And out of nowhere, Orlando Engelaar scores this goal from about 58 metres,
George, I think
the whole crowd's just...
I think Lockie's got that as a screensaver. I think Lockie looks at that video at least once every day. Talks about it a lot.
It's breathtaking. It's breathtaking.
I remember that goal. I remember that was magnificent. And that's they're good moments for the game, and good moments that people never forget.
Oh, that's right. It's like the scorpion kick.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, Pokuah still says, I want to do a scorpion kick.
I don't think I can.
The only other person who has ever done a scorpion kick is a former Arsenal player.
Yeah.
It's not happening for me.
He now plays for Paris Saint-Germain.
It's not gonna happen for me, George. I think I need to do some yoga if I'm ever gonna pull that off, and I don't think it's gonna happen for me. But
Johnny Anastasiadis is our guest. Pokuah, have you got a question?
Yeah, Johnny, I was going to ask you. You were speaking earlier about wanting to still obviously keep coaching. Would you, in terms of, is the A-League where you're looking, or are you looking, would you go into state? Like, how is that, your thought process behind that? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, look, I definitely want to try and be in the top echelon of football, and that is the A-League at the moment. And it doesn't worry me if it's interstate. Definitely doesn't worry me. My kids are old enough now; they're in the 20s, so we don't have to drag them around everywhere. And for me, it's not a problem to go interstate, especially in the high league. But again, sometimes beggars can't be choosers. So we'll look at everything that comes our way at the moment. But definitely, I think I've got what it takes to be in the top league.
What's the one big learning that you've had in that 4 years that you saw that you needed to bring on board from your time at Bentley Greens, where you were tremendously successful with a bunch of young players? And I noticed your goalkeeper from Bentley Greens is doing and has had a tremendous season for the Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah, look, we're what I learned tactically, I think I've learned a lot throughout the 4 years. Because both coaches I had were, one played a different system, or both played different systems to what I normally play. So it was interesting to see what type of things they do with their system. The defensive part, George, I could say tactically was something that I learned a lot, especially this year and last year. So, on certain situations. But again, if I go into coaching and start coaching again, I'll put my twist on it. It's not exactly that but you've learnt from that, and it does work at times. So, look, apart from that, you're dealing with professional footballers, professional people, and they all have a button, especially in this profession, and they all have issues, and they all have something going on. So you've got to be ready as a coach to embrace that. You've got to embrace it, and you actually got to help whatever situation the person's in, because you want to get the best out of him or her, depends what you do. Especially when they play play the games, especially. So you want them to be at their peak at any time, and whatever things that do bother them, that you take that on your back. So you don't want them to worry about it. You want them to actually concentrate on producing the best, especially in game time. So for me, that was a lot of learnings through the managing style of football.
So man management has taken on a different flavour for you now. You understand. 100%. You understand. You have to be more than the father figure. You have to be the father confessor, the mate, the next door neighbour. Listen to everybody and bring them on board and help them.
Yeah.
Not rid of the demons, but be able to play with the demons.
Well, George, the world has changed. The world has changed. We know that. It's not like the olden days. In the olden days, when we used to play and the coach used to scream and kick us up the backside and get on with it. Now it's not like that. It's different. It's a whole new ball game. So you have to evolve. If you don't evolve, you'll get left behind, no doubt.
Western United have had access to some wonderfully talented young players. Have you got a book, a little green book or a black book or a white book, putting down players that you think could fit and play in your system going forward?
Yeah, definitely. I like speed in my system. So some good players who've come through the ranks, and they're still at the club at the moment. So they're quite good. And this year we saw the emergence of Noah Bodic, who plays with number 9, and I believe that he's the next hope of our number 9s in Australia. He's we had the Vidukas of the world and so on, and I think Noah's got the right attitude. He's got his head screwed on properly. He works hard, and I think he can be the next one coming through.
Johnny A, when you have a young talent like that, you were a striker. You loved scoring goals. Johnny Aloisi also loved scoring goals. Did this young man access both of you, pick your brains whenever he could?
Yes, he did. He did a lot, and that's why when you see someone like that, when you get a person like that coming up to you and asking you questions and how to have his body shape and so on, and how to receive the ball, you know that he's on the right track. So he wants to learn. And people who want to learn will get better. Simple as that. And there's some people out there think, and some players think they know everything. Well, you don't. You don't. I've learned that lesson as a coach. I thought I knew everything. far from it. Far from it. You learn every day, and boys like him who ask, and we had a really good bunch of young boys, and the club still does, and they all want to learn. They all want to learn, and they work hard. They're good characters, and I think the club's got some good boys coming through.
Topo Stanley, Lacroix, are the young ones picking their brains?
I believe they are. I believe, look, in the dressing room, they have their, they talk to them, especially someone like Topo Stanley, who's a fantastic role model.
Yeah. He's played in so many clubs.
He's just a brilliant person too, and I think the boys loved him and learnt a lot from him. And he actually guided quite a few young fellas. And Leo's in international, so they saw Leo not so much this year, but the last year when we won the championships, he was one of the best defenders in the league. So no doubt that a lot of the young boys would have asked a few questions, and no doubt they would have given them that advice, because that's the type of people they are.
Now, we're just thinking, yesterday we saw from Football Australia the announcement that the cull had started for the National Second Division. And suddenly we've got 26 clubs. And this means now that we're getting inching our way ever closer to a National Second Division. What are your thoughts on that? And does that excite you from the point of view of being able to grab a club, some of the grand old clubs, or maybe one of the brand new clubs, and saying to them, you know what, we need a journey. We'll need 3 or 4 years, but if we start it now, we can get it done. What are your thoughts? Is that something that appeals to you, that journey?
Absolutely. Absolutely appeals to me, George. But if I go back to your first point about am I thrilled about it, I'm definitely thrilled about this B League. It has to happen. Yeah. It has to happen. Simple.
Explain to us from a coach. Explain from a coach's perspective why it has to happen.
It has to happen because it's got to help the A League. The A League it hasn't got that the talent pool that some other countries have. So through the B League, where some player who's probably on the fringe of an A League team or just in thereabouts, he can play in that second division, play well, gain that experience, and then eventually go to the A League. And I'm not saying that the B League is going to be a development league, but it can help enhance the top league. With that, on the flip side, it can also help the B League. So the standard will be higher. So I think this B League, it's been in the pipeline for quite a few years, I reckon. Someone's taken the bull by the horns and said, we've got to run with this. We've got to get this done. And I'm so happy the Federation have. And it will give a lot of opportunities to coaches, a lot of opportunities to players. And I think it'll only get better. Yeah, it'll be teething problems at the start, and that's normal. But what's really good about it, George, is that they had 32 teams at the first applicants, I suppose, the first applicants were 32.
First series, yes, that's right.
And they've come down to 26. That's a big number, George. That's a real good number. If they had to come down to 10 from the first round to the second round, I would have said, problems. But to come down from 32 to 26, I think that shows that we're serious about this. The clubs are serious about this. And I think this is probably a historic moment in Australian football if this gets done, which they're saying it will be. And the first game will be kick off in March 2024. So I think it'll be sensational for the game in general.
Some of the names, some of those clubs that have been named in that final 26, you know them well. You've either played against them or you played for them. Yeah. Does that excite you as well? Because the one thing we've been saying for the better part of the last 15 years is these clubs should never have been denied access. It's happened. Now there's a way back, or there's a way forward. Let's look at it that way rather than always look back. It's a way forward. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's exactly right. These clubs should never have been alienated in the start. Maybe it could have been better managed in some sort of way and, I don't know, talked to properly instead of just being thrown to the wolves from the start, because they kept the game going. They kept the game alive. And just to throw them out and now start new entities and all that sort of stuff, I thought it was wrong at the start. But, you know, it's been a long time. They've been patient, these clubs have been building their clubs, and now they're ready. And the game's ready for it. Now, in hopefully 3 to 5 years where they're going to have promotion relegation, you know, this is what it's all about. And it'll spice up the league because, you know, there's not enough scrutiny in the A-League, George. There's not enough scrutiny. Like if you go to the EPL or the Greek League or the Italian League or the European leagues, you get scrutinised even the way you walk. Here, it's okay to lose. Well, it's not okay to lose. Have the second division, which is run well and going well. It'll put pressure onto these other teams in the A-League to do better, and then you'll have a better competition. Because you know what? If you don't do better, then you'll be relegated. So you have that spice up too.
Speaking of spice, a Women's World Cup, the biggest sporting event for women in the world. Yep. It's happening in Australia and New Zealand, July and August of this year. Do you think it's going to be bigger than people imagine?
I think people, especially the Australian public, will be blown away. They don't know how big a World Cup is. They've always seen it and heard about it. Now it's on your doorstep. They'll see what the World Cup's about, how big this game is. People in this country and we know I'll put them as enemies.
The knockers.
The knockers. We'll put it as knockers, George. That's a better way.
Yep.
They'll see how big this game is, and especially the way the women's game has grown phenomenally. And I watched quite a bit of the previous World Cup, and some excellent teams there. Excellent teams, and the teams that are weaker, they'll get better, George. They'll get better because they're seeing that there's a lot more money coming into the game for the women, which they should, rightly so. And you can only get better. And I think it'll be a fantastic tournament, and hopefully it flows through from grassroots to the top for men and women, not just for the women. And I know the men will benefit from it too. And hopefully one day we get the men's World Cup because Australia's capable of hosting big events.
Yeah,
you may have gathered, Pokuah, he does get excited.
Yeah, he does. I was going to say, I think John brought up a really good point. I think that a lot of people forget that if women's football is successful in this country, it translates to men's football being successful as well. And I think that they have in the past not been a really nice symbiotic relationship. It's been, either women's football does well or men's football does well, or, but they feed into each other because more kids are playing and more interest, more eyeballs. And, if they get more female viewers, they go to more men's games as well. And, the other way as well. So I look forward to the Women's World Cup. But, John, I want to ask you, obviously, you've got such a great history in the NPL. Have you been watching it? Is there any teams that you're liking, any standout players?
That's a good question, but unfortunately I haven't been able to get around to watch a few games. But obviously, watching, Avondale doing well this year and South Melbourne, obviously. But I haven't been watching it as much as I would have liked because our season, starts early. Then it sort of, it goes through, and then by the time we have time off, we have a bit of a holiday. Then we go overseas, whatever. Then when we come back, the NPL season's finished. So haven't had much to do with it in the past 2 or 3 years, especially. But always looking at who's doing well in Victoria, and obviously the Avondales and South Melbournes of the world, and my old team Bentley, struggling a little bit at the moment. So hopefully they can find themselves and stay in the league this year and build for next year because it'll be a shame.
I just want
John
to ask
Anastasiadis. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you before because you're talking about how the seasons don't align. Do you think that's the next step in the football in this country for all of the seasons to be aligned, and so we have like an actual football calendar that makes sense?
Yeah, I think eventually that will happen. I think that's the James Johnson, who's the CEO of Football Australia, wants that to happen eventually. Some stage that all the men's games and women's games all align with each other. So second division, NPL, whatever, they'll all align because everyone's afraid. The AFL and the NRL. At the end of the day, the NFL, NRL, and the AFL, they've always been there. So, and I don't know what we're scared of. It's not as if they're going to take any supporters away from us or things like that. So, for me, it has to align. It's because I'll tell you why. Another really important reason is, and I've seen it from first hand, obviously, the standard of football of the A-League in summer is lower because it's too hot. It's far too hot. I'm telling you, you can't run. And we're asking for the players a lot, to run in 34 degree heat. It's not that easy. I'm telling you. So I think it's better that we eventually get to the winter because it's a winter sport. So hopefully that'll happen.
John Anastasiadis is our special guest on State of Our Football Nation on FNR. Pokuah Frimpong is in the studio running the show, and I'm in the via Zoom out of Port Melbourne. Johnny A, there are a couple of young boys. Yeah, I can say that because you know them. Young Muscat, bit of a troublemaker when he was on the pitch, and a young guy called Ange Postecoglou. They're doing okay.
Yeah, they're doing very well. And look,
Are you proud of them?
Oh, look, it's sensational to see how well they're doing. It's Ange is my mentor, and I played under him at South Melbourne for 4 years, and we were very successful with him. And you could tell from there that he was already primed to be an elite coach, yeah. And because he had a passion for the game, had a passion for coaching, and look, he's gone to another level now. He's gone to another level, and he's back to back with one of the biggest clubs in Europe, in Celtic, and I reckon it won't be long before he's in the EPL, which is unbelievable.
Is their success also good news for Australia?
Of course it is.
The fact that Muscat is succeeding, and of course Ange.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's no doubt. Yeah, but then you've also got Patrick Isnoldo too now. Yeah?
Oh yes, Patrick in Troyes.
Okay, he's had a bit of a baptism of fire at the moment, but he'll learn from it, and I think he'll become a better coach from it, no doubt. Because Muskie was in Belgium, didn't do well, and left and went to Japan. So he's had a bit of a journey too, but he's doing well in Japan. And then I reckon he's next to go again back into Europe. Ange went another way. He went through Japan first and into Europe. So he actually, his progress and his journey has been a bit better because he's gone to a league where he's actually done really well in the Japanese league, then gone to Scotland, where it's not the best league, but he's got the best team, and he's made them the best team that Scottish football has seen for quite a while. And he's made
they've been exhilarating to watch.
Unbelievable.
There's no doubt about it.
Some of the football they're playing is, every team he plays, they've got 80% possession. To score 105 goals, George, 105 goals. That's phenomenal. To lose only one game out of 36 games or 30, that's incredible. I think Ange, he wants to conquer the Champions League, I believe.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's why I think the EPL may take a little bit of a back seat for now, because I think he wants to conquer the Champions League
through Celtic. He's been very smart. Because as you touched on earlier, as a coach, you're always looking at players. When he was in Japan, he picked the eye teeth out of the talent, didn't he?
That's right.
And he knew how he could bring them and which of them would be able to make the transition without being lost. Because some players, they play overseas and the cultural challenge is too great. They get homesick and you lose them. And you've been there. You know what that's about when you were playing overseas. You know how tough it is.
Yes.
Every time you want to play, you're suddenly the enemy because you're taking a job away from the local, aren't you?
That's right. Look, his recruitment has been spot on. He knows exactly what he wants, and he's got those players in Japan. He probably couldn't find those players in Scotland or in Europe. Well, they probably are in Europe, but they're probably worth 10 times
as much. Yeah.
Let's be honest. So
that's the other thing.
He's also done good business. Apart from with a brilliant team, he's done great business because these players now, some of them, they're throwing. I've been hearing, £15 million a year, and where he's bought the player for 3. So he's made some very shrewd recruitment in terms of business also.
What do you make of the business that Brighton has done in the EPL? They have grabbed a bundle of players for next to nothing in EPL terms, and again, they're playing a brand of football that really is exhilarating.
Look, you know what, George? I read about the Brighton thing, and it was in the paper something the other day on the line somewhere, and it was quite extraordinary what they've done. Quite extraordinary. I look at it though, George, and I was thinking about it. I said, what about if it went the other way? What about if it didn't go as well? What happens there? So there is an element of risk, but you know what, George? Life's full of risks. So
you got to dare to win.
100%. And you know what? They believed in that, in the system they got. They believed in the scouting. Brighton, they got this unbelievable scouting. And they believed and they got this good database and all this software and all that stuff I was reading about, which is unbelievable. And through that, they've got the right players for the right price. And now they're probably going to do what Ange's done at Celtic, and they're going to start selling players for 10 times the amount again. So good luck to them, and it's and I think a lot of clubs will follow this road, I reckon, from now on, George, to be honest.
What have you learnt with sports science? That's come on in the time you've been a coach.
Yeah, look, sports science has its position. I'm a bit old school, George. I like to do things out on the pitch, not with a laptop. So, look, it does help. It no doubt, the loading of the players, and we watch how many Ks they've done during the game, and how much in sprints.
Is that in real time? Are you watching them in real time?
We watch them in real time. Yes.
Wow. So is that part of the assistant coach, what you're doing during a game? You're monitoring those things, or are there other people who do that?
No, there are the S&C people or the strength and conditioning people who are doing that. So they're all wearing GPSs now.
Yep.
All the players, so we've got all that information. Look, sometimes it's not. We get it after the game, but sometimes we sort of get live to see where the purpose. Because you don't want to overload a player also, because if you see a player's doing 10 sprints and he's supposed to only do 3, then you got to tell him, relax a bit, because you're going to start putting hamstrings and everything,
Johnny A, before we go, are you a Ted Lasso fan?
I've watched a bit of it, George. Yeah, I watched a bit of it. Yeah.
What have you made of it?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's some of the stuff is okay. Some of the stuff is okay. Some you can relate to some of the stuff, no doubt.
I think the human nature stuff has been.
The human nature is good.
It's been lovely.
It's good. But again, George, I'm a little bit old school. Is that the coach is the boss? Yeah. The players, they'll only look at a coach. They'll look at the coach, what he says, and players can't do what they want to do. They can't run the show. And I'm not saying the coach doesn't run the show, but he sort of guides the players to be able to get them to play to the best of their abilities to actually win games. And that's how I see coaching anyway. I like to see that, I'm here for you guys, but without you guys, I'm nothing.
Yeah, so it's a partnership. That's it. Johnny Anastasiadis has been our special guest. Pokuah, anything you want to add before we go and give Johnny an early mark, or do you have another question for him?
No, I was just gonna say, obviously, with Western United's women's team, what was the dynamic like? Was there a strong relationship between the men's coaching staff and the women's coaching staff? Or how did that kind of dynamic work?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Our officers were very close with the women's team and or the women's coaches. And Mark DiCasio and Amanda Stella they were there. So they always would come and watch us train, no doubt. And Mark, who had Calder, I think prior to that, he was also shown a lot of interest. I think he would have had a lot of talks with John Aloisi and asked him, some advice and obviously learning from that. So and obviously Amanda ran the administrative part of it, so she was involved a lot too. But I think the women's team has set its mark now. They're the runners up, best in the league. Okay, Sydney were very good, but Sydney's been in the league for a lot more years than Western United, and I think the future's there for them, and hopefully they'll just get bigger and better.
Well, Johnny A, that's a great note to leave you on. We wish you every success going forward, and if there's a club looking for a new manager or a new coach, they need to look at Johnny Anastasiadis, because not only have you served your time, you've put in the hard yards where it mattered most and always delivered. We thank you very much for joining us. And
thank you for having me, George. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. All right.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
There you go, Pokuah, one of the nice guys, but also one of the guys who has proven himself time and time again. Before we go, any ideas on who might win this week? Your choices have been almost legendary throughout the year. Who's going to win on the weekend?
In the A-League or
in the A-League, madame? Yes.
George, I'm not okay. Let me get these. The game.
I know you like firing a bullet just before we close it.
No, I just don't want to be wrong. I've had such a good streak. I just don't want to be.
That's the thing. I'm hoping that I can get you to crack. Yeah, just to miss one, yeah?
I'm going to I'll go Melbourne City. City tomorrow. I'll go Melbourne City tomorrow.
Yes.
And
okay. They're playing Sydney away from home. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And
who wins the other one?
I'm going to go. I think this one's going to be really close. I think we could see potentially. I think it's going to be either extremely high scoring, or we're going to go extra time. But I'll go with Central Coast.
Central Coast, but Nick Montgomery's team to upset the Reds.
Yep, to upset the Reds. That's it. That's what I'll go with.
Nick Montgomery and that team have been terrific for us, and we wish them every success. They've been a terrific and exciting platform, and their fans have got right behind them, haven't they?
They certainly have, and I think it's one of the things that I've really loved about this season is all the fans getting involved, especially with Adelaide and Central Coast. Those fan bases growing, and I think it's the key to Australian football growing.
100%. I'm with you. Until next week.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.